Hi there, this video will instruct you how to make a 3.5-inch stemmed mini flower using the Magnolia Mini Flower template, and we're going to create a different flower using that template. So cut everything according to the instruction document at the beginning of this video. There's also an instruction document, a written instruction document posted in my PhotoFabPaperFlower makers group and is linked down in the description below. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. For the sepal, I like to use 2 of them. And we're going to use our 1/4 inch dowel rod. So if you have one of my newer dowel rod sets, has an olive green tip and it comes with a color-coded chart. So we're going to place that dowel rod down right in the middle of that petal of the sepal. We're going to pinch it up. You're going to let go and roll it along your index finger. Again, place that dowel rod down in the middle of the petal. Thumb, index finger holds the dowel rod in place with your opposite hand. Pinch it up, let go of the dowel rod, and roll it along. Place it down, thumb, index finger, pinch it up, and roll. If you're not comfortable rolling 2 petals at once, I am using 65-pound cardstock. You can roll them individually. It's perfectly okay. And we're just going to set them to the side. We have 5 of petal number 1 of the Magnolia. So the Magnolia Mini Flower template comes with 2 different shaped petals. One of the petals, these are wider for petal 1. Petal 2, they're thinner. So for 2 of them, we're going to roll with our red tipped dowel rod or our 5/16. Okay. So these are going to be layers 1 and 2 of our flower. We're going to place our thumb, index finger, pinch it up with your other hand, and roll it along. Pinch it up and roll. Okay, so we're going to keep them in order. And then for our next 3, again, these are all the same size. We're going to use that 1/4 inch dowel rod again. It's our olive green one. And color coded so you know exactly which size you're using. Place the dowel rod down in the middle of the petal. Thumb and index finger hold the dowel rod in place. With your opposite hand, come around the petal, pinch it up, and roll it along. Pinch it up and roll. And we'll set that to the side. Okay, for our centers, we're going to take a piece of scrap paper that we use for our coloring. And optionally, you can shade your centers. And I'm using more of the traditional Magnolia colors for my flowers, but I have used pink for them as well. And that's on my Facebook tutorial on April 23rd, 2023. Okay, so for the larger center, we're going to use some tea dye distress oxide. I'm going to add some on my finger dabber. And basically 3/4 of it will be covered in ink. So you can cut your center in a white if you wanted to. Flip it over and do exactly the same thing. Then I'm going to come back through with my wild honey, and this is on the larger one. I'm basically on the top 1/4. So just a little strip at the top. Flip it over and do exactly the same thing. then for our second two, these are exactly the same height. Again, all the sizes are posted at the beginning of the video and also available on the instruction document in my Facebook group, linked below in the description. We're going to take our tea dye and we're going to also use seedless preserves. Of course, you can use any color that you want, totally up to you. So I'm going to start with the seedless preserves. And on the bottom 1/4. Now you can use markers, you can use whatever you have in your stash. Okay, flip it over. We're going to do exactly the same thing. And if you did not want to ink, that's perfectly okay. Depends on how much detail you want to put in your flower. That's what's fun about paper flowers. I can give you some guidance and suggestions, and then you can take it and design it as you would like. Okay, and again, the second one, we're going to do exactly the same thing. I'm just adding ink on about the bottom 1/4. And then I'm going to come over the rest of it with the tea dye. So if it overlaps, that's great. If it doesn't, that's perfectly okay. Flip it over. Okay. And then our last one, exactly the same thing. I'm adding some tea dye, which is like a light beige. So this flower will complement the traditional magnolia flower because we are using the same template. We're just switching it up how we're creating the flower. Now we're going to take our bone folder. I'm going to curl all my centers. So I'm going to stack these two together. I'm going to just pull it. Oop, don't pull off the stem. One of the centers like I just did. You're going to curl almost like you're curling lashes. Just pull ever so slightly. If you're not comfortable rolling or curling both at the same time, you can do them separately. And then exactly the same thing with the 1-inch tall. Okay. So we're going to take our slotted quilling tool. We're going to thread it on with the lashes facing towards you. Thread it onto your slotted quilling tool. Roll it a few times. We're going to add some hot glue. Roll it towards you, keeping that bottom edge aligned. Okay, now we're going to add our next two. Add enough glue so it makes one rotation around. Sometimes I'll do a little bit more. We're going to go right to where we ended our last one, and it can overlap slightly. And we're just going to roll it and secure the end. And then attach our second one. Add enough glue that makes one rotation around or more. Add or start it where you ended your last center, keeping the bottom edge aligned. Roll it towards yourself. Secure the end with glue. Okay, now I'm going to pull it off the slotted quilling tool. And I'm going to pull out just to fluff out that bottom part ever so slightly. Now if you wanted to, you can add a little bit more purple around. I didn't add any more ink. I just used what was on my finger dabber. So we're going to bring in our flower shaping mat, which is a soft foam mat. We're going to pierce our hole in the sepals. And for my bottom two, I'm going to pierce the hole in those. Okay. So we're going to take our 18 gauge floral stem wire, and I am going to cut mine in half just because I don't need such a tall flower. And always save your stem for another flower. Okay. Take your needle nose pliers, place that 18 gauge wire in between the needle nose pliers, bend it around like a shepherd's hook or a hook. Place it back in between your needle nose pliers, give it a squeeze to close up the gap. Place it back in between your needle nose pliers and bend it 90 degrees like a corner. Okay, starting with your two petals, you're going to lay them out on your flower shaping mat. You're going to roll the centers with the metal ball stylus. We're going to take one of them, thread it on to your floral stem wire, add a little bit of hot glue on the underside of that wire loop, pull it through. Now this will be open a lot more. Okay, take your second petal. They're all the same size, these petals. Add a little bit of hot glue on the underside of the petal. And we're going to place this one in between. And press. Now there will always be two that overlap a little bit more. Then we're going to take our two sepals. I like to use 2. Thread one onto your floral stem. Add some hot glue underneath. And we're going to just thread it down, place it in between our petals. So if you only wanted to use one, you're perfectly okay with that. And I did keep the petals rolled up. For our second one again, we're going to flip it over and we add our hot glue along the bottom there. You don't need a lot. Okay, thread it through. Make sure it's secure. Okay. Now I just pulled my petals up a little bit. We're going to set that to the side. We're going to set out our last 3 petals. All of these are exactly the same size. Roll the center with your metal ball stylus tool on your flower shaping mat. Okay. We're going to add hot glue right in the center or to the bottom of our center. We're going to glue it into the center of one of our petals. I'm going to set that to the side just for a moment. We're going to glue these 2 together. Now we're going to add glue to the bottom. Place these petals in between the previous layer's petals. See where you want a placement. Add some hot glue to the bottom. And now we're going to glue it into our flower. And we're going to hold it there to make sure it's totally secure. And then again, you want to pull them out to style the flower how you would like it. And there you have it. You can add any additional ink. You can pull the petals up more if you like them pulled down. Totally up to you how you like it styled. So it's very similar to the traditional Magnolia, except for we use 5 of the same colors and less centers. If you choose to do so, you can add some coloring to the center. You can see where I used the more traditional Magnolia colors here versus the pink. So thank you for watching.